What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler. You can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Monday, May 11th. We'll start it off as always with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league. Kicking things off with the bad news as outfielder Addison Barger was placed on the 10-day IL with elbow inflammation. That was pretty unfortunate as Barger had just been activated from a month-long IL stint 2 days ago caused by sprains in both of his ankles. So now he'll head to the IL with an elbow injury, and this is a huge blow to not only the Jays but also to Barger's season as it's just been decimated by injuries already. Outfielder Yohendrick Pinango was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move, and with Nathan Lucas on the IL as well, the Guardians outfield is in disarray right now. Pinango and Miles Straw, that is, will platoon in left field, while Jesus Sanchez and Davis Schneider platoon in right field. Our other IL placement involves outfielder Eli White, who was placed on the 7-day concussion IL after making an incredible catch, but running and slamming into the outfield wall. White had been seeing time in the outfield versus left-handed pitchers, so expect Jorge Mateo to see time in that role after his everyday shortstop role was taken by the return of shortstop Ha-Seong Kim, who has missed the entire season thus far with a torn finger tendon, but Kim was activated from the 10-day IL and will begin being the Braves' everyday shortstop. He was that last year, was pretty great in that role. I'm excited to see what Kim can do as the Braves' everyday shortstop for the rest of this season. In terms of transactions, relief pitcher Yariel Rodriguez was selected from the minors. He was removed from the 40-man roster in September despite a solid season out of the bullpen last year, but he's looked great at AAA with a 2.63 ERA and a 43% strikeout rate in 11 games. Rodriguez can pitch multiple innings, providing length they'll be missing after they DFA'd starting pitcher Eric Lauer in a corresponding move. Outfielder Harrison Bader was activated from the 10-day IL after missing nearly a month with a hamstring strain. Bader will return to being the Giants' everyday center fielder, forcing Drew Gilbert to the bench as the club's fourth outfielder. Catcher Logan Porter was optioned to the minors in a corresponding move. He was redundant with the presence of both Eric Haas and Jesus Rodriguez on the Giants roster. Shortstop Mookie Betts was activated from the 10-day IL after missing over a month with an oblique strain, and Betts will return to being the Dodgers' everyday shortstop. And in a corresponding move, second baseman Alex Freeland was optioned to the minors, which will allow Ha-Seong Kim to shift from shortstop to the keystone position where he'll platoon with right-handed hitter Miguel Rojas. Lastly, starting pitcher Trey Gibson, the Orioles' number 3 prospect, was optioned to the minors. He made a spot start earlier this month, then was called upon to pitch out of the bullpen and will now head back to the minors for the second time this year. Relief pitcher Josh Walker was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move. And in terms of news, starting pitcher Rhett Lauder is expected to be placed on the 15-day IL with AC joint irritation in his shoulder. Next, starting pitcher Tatsuya Imai is expected to be activated from the 15-day IL today to start versus the Mariners. He is returning from arm fatigue, so I am avoiding that start, but I'm hoping that Imai can capitalize on the potential that made him one of this offseason's biggest free agents. Next, we have a couple of notable outfielder promotions in the prospect department. First, we have outfielder Henry Bolte. You'd think it be pronounced Bolt. It's Bolte, but I looked it up on Baseball Reference just to make sure. Bolte, very fancy there from Henry. He's expected to have his contract selected from the minors. He's the A's number 5 prospect according to MLB Pipeline, and the 22-year-old 2022 second-round pick has torn up AAA, batting .348 with 12 homers, 17 steals, and a 157 WRC+. Bolte has always had speed, but the power is a new development. But he may be slowed down by inflated strikeout rates that he seems to have minimized so far this year, but in the past, we've seen strikeout rates nearing 30%, sometimes over 30%, though he does have speed. As I mentioned, he's had a couple seasons where he's stolen 40 bases in the minor leagues. It's unclear, though, where Bolte is going to play with so much outfield and DH talent in Sacramento. we've got guys like, Brent Ricker, Carlos Cortez, Tyler Soderstrom, Lawrence Butler, and Denzel Clark, who's on the injured list right now. But both Soderstrom and Butler have struggled this year. So I think Bolte might be able to take some time away from them. But with the presence of Cortez there, it's going to be difficult. So I think Bolte is most likely to be on some sort of short side platoon with either Butler or Cortez, as Bolte is a good platoon partner for those guys as a right-handed hitter. I don't think he's a must grab, but considering how great he's been playing, if the A's give him everyday playing time and he's doing well in that Sutter Health ballpark, the sky is pretty high on him. The ceiling, I mean. The ceiling is almost as high as the sky, as some might say. Lastly, we have outfielder A.J. Ewing, who's expected to have his contract selected from the minors. He's the Mets' number 2 prospect, and he's the number 78 prospect in all of baseball, according to MLB Pipeline. The 21-year-old left-handed hitter has spent the season at AA and AAA, batting .339 with 17 steals and more walks than strikeouts. With just 2 homers, it's incredible that Ewing has recorded a 156 WRC+, which really emphasizes not only his bat to ball skills, but also his plate discipline. Ewing's arrival likely pushes MJ Melendez back to DH, opening up left field for Ewing, while Luis Torrens hits the bench and Francisco Alvarez returns to being the everyday catcher. I think a lot of people are going to be trying to determine, hey, do I pick up Bolte or Ewing? I think if I'm in a points league, then I want Ewing because his plate discipline is really good, and there's also a much clearer path to playing time. But Bolte clearly has a higher ceiling because of his power production in the minors. Now we can take a look at our notable performances from Monday, a day in which we had just 6 games on our slate. We'll start off with our hitters, leading off with shortstop Andres Jimenez, who did all he could, but the Blue Jays lost to the Rays. He went 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 2 home runs, and 5 runs batted in. He's up to 5 home runs on the year now. First one traveled 351 feet at 94 miles per hour, and the second one went 401 feet at 106 miles per hour. Jimenez had a down year last year as he struggled with a significant high ankle sprain and batted just .210 with a 70 WRC+, failing to provide counting stats with just 7 homers and 12 steals. But Jimenez is looking much better this year, and it really has nothing to do with batted ball metrics and more to do with health. Removed from that ankle sprain, he's free to run wild on the base pass and return to being the 20-plus stolen base contributor he was in the 3 seasons prior to his injured 2025 campaign. Jimenez should also return better batted ball luck, as his .239 BABIP last year massively limited his batting average production. Jimenez rarely strikes out, and he makes a ton of contact. He's exhibited the highest zone contact rate of his career this year, so we can expect him to hit around or even above the 252 mark he's at right now this season. I wouldn't expect a ton of homers, but he's already at 5 this year, suggesting Jimenez will be around a dozen homers at the end of the season. He's more of a deep league 15-teamer and points league guy because of his plate discipline, but I'll take a 250 batting average with 12 homers and 20-plus steals every day from Jimenez. Lastly, we have first baseman Rafael Devers, who helped the Giants to win in Hollywood, going 2 for 3 with 3 runs, a home run, 2 runs batted in, and 2 walks for good measure. He's up to 5 home runs on the year now. This one traveled 401 feet at 103 miles per hour. A perennial all-star, Devers has struggled worse than ever this year, batting just .240 with a 90 WRC+, and most notably, he's striking out more than ever at 29%. And he's failed to impact the ball like he's done throughout his career with pretty underwhelming batted ball metrics, according to StatCast. But Devers has turned things around recently, homering in 3 of his past 5 games. The calendar flipping to may have been a huge sort of reset for him, as Devers has batted .364 with a 222 WRC+ in 10 games. And most importantly, he's seen his plate discipline correct itself, as he's walking 13% of the time with a 23% strikeout rate. The batted ball metrics haven't returned to normal, though, which is still concerning and sort of suggests that Devers won't return to being the 850+ OPS guy he's been throughout his career. But this hot streak and the improved plate discipline have me confident he's someone to buy low. So go out and send a couple trade offers that might benefit you to the manager that rosters Rafael Devers. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Monday, check out the daily Batters Box article over on PitcherList.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Ryan Weathers, who did all he could, but the Yankees lost in Baltimore. He tossed 6 in the 3rd innings, allowing just 1 hit with 2 earned runs while walking 3 and striking out 9. He induced 15 whiffs with 36% CSW across 101 pitches and earned the golden goal as he led baseball with 15 whiffs to earn the gallows pole and earn the King Cole via leading baseball with his 36% CSW. So a great start from Ryan Weathers here. He had his changeup cooking against a right-handed batter heavy Baltimore lineup. The slow ball induced 9 whiffs and 32% CSW as he had intention with his four seamers upstairs and sweepers low, supported by sinkers filling up the zone for 80% strikes. Weathers was lucky to go 10 out of 11 outs on balls in play. The BABIP was very low, minuscule, some might say, but the Orioles didn't make him pay for all the sinkers and sweepers in the zone, allowing him to steal 16 called strikes between them. Weathers has been great this year with a strikeout rate approaching 30%. He's got an ERA at an even 3.00 and a 1.11 whip. So he's just been great to roster all year. And now he gets to head to Queens to face the Mets, who have just been awful this year. So Weathers should continue pitching well. We'll see what the Yankees do when Garrett Cole returns. But for now, you just got to keep starting Ryan Weathers. Lastly, we've got Alek Manoah, who did all he could, but the Angels lost in Cleveland. And Manoah tossed 5 scoreless innings, allowing just 2 hits while walking 5 and striking out 2. He induced 6 whiffs with 23% CSW across 91 pitches. And he was the bulk reliever in this one as he had 3 different relievers open for him. And baseball is absolutely hilarious. Someone like Manoah can throw 5 scoreless frames against the first place team while sitting 4 to 6 miles per hour down on fastballs at 87 to 89 miles per hour, leading on a brand new changeup that he absolutely could not locate, leading to a 52% overall strike rate and thus 5 walks. But I guess Manoah's 7 feet of extension made up for the lack of velo, and his general wildness made him difficult to predict. And the Guardians' patience wasn't enough to make him pay. This is obviously not going to work going forward, though. We've already seen Manoah struggle in the past when he either didn't have his velocity or didn't have his command. The velocity is lower than ever. The command is as bad as ever. He doesn't have the slider. It doesn't really matter how much extension he has because it's the same that he had before when he struggled. And we're definitely not trusting Manoah against the Dodgers next. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Monday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves, starting with the former. Anthony Nunez recorded his 2nd save with a scoreless 9th. Rico Garcia pitched a perfect 8th for his 7th hold in this one. Weird usage, but I wouldn't look into it. I expect Garcia to get the majority of the saves until Ryan Helsley returns from the IL. Next, Brian Baker recorded his 11th save as he's tied for the American League lead in saves with Cade Smith. Brian Baker pitched a perfect 9th to record that 11th save. Paul Seibold also had a perfect 9th to record his 9th save, and Andres Munoz recorded his 8th save with a scoreless 9th. And in terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, we have just one. Brian King pitched a scoreless 9th down by 2. He hadn't pitched since last Tuesday, so this was a maintenance outing for Brian King. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's daily articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Tuesday, May 12th, a day in which we'll have a full slate of 15 games. My matchup of the day is Brian Wu versus Tatsuya Imai. I'm excited to see Wu go out there. He's incredible. I roster him in a couple of fantasy leagues, so I'm always rooting for him. Also, weirdly enough, he's dating a girl that I went to high school with, which I always find very interesting when you have these sort of connections to baseball players without them knowing it. But very interesting to, you're scrolling Instagram someday and then you just see somebody at like the All-Star game red carpet dating Brian Wu, and you're like, what the heck? That's crazy. Regardless, Brian Wu is squaring off against Tatsuya Imai, who's returning back to the major. So I'm excited to see what Imai can do in his return. I'm not expecting a lot, but I will be excited to see if he can succeed, which is what I'm hoping from him moving forward. In terms of probable starters, we've got 5 guys in the auto starts tier, including Wu. We've also got Paul Skeens versus the Rockies, Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus the Giants, Zach Wheeler in Boston, and Freddie Peralta versus the Tigers. Our probably starts tier has 4 guys, and our questionable starts tier has 5, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Stephen Kolek in Chicago and against the White Sox. Kolek proved to be a Toby last year, pitching for the Padres. Now he's pitching for the Royals. I have not been too enamored with his stuff, but he's somebody that can, have enough command, induce enough weak contact to succeed, especially against a weak lineup like the White Sox. I'd also keep an eye out for Walbert Urania in Cleveland. This is a guy who doesn't have great command. He doesn't have a breaker that's working for him, but he has high velocity and he has a changeup. And when the changeup is controlled, then he can have success. And especially against a left-handed batter heavy lineup, which is what the Guardians roll out often. So I think Urania could have a bit of success in Cleveland. And in terms of pitchers with an opener, we'll see Brian Bayo have an opener as he squares off against the Phillies. That's not one I want to start. I have him in the do not start tier. He's just been very untrustworthy this year. We've seen one good start from him. Yes, it was with an opener. So if you want to lean on that, say, oh, maybe Brian Bayo is a completely different pitcher if he's coming out of the bullpen. I'm not one who's going to trust that, but I guess it could work out. The Phillies lineup, though, is sometimes very scary. In terms of hitter suggestions, I target Angels hitters versus Slade Ciccone in Progressive Field. Ciccone has a 6.15 ERA on the season. I'd also target Nationals and Reds hitters in Great American Ballpark. We'll see a terrible pitching matchup. Miles Mikolas versus Brady Singer in the second best hitters park in baseball. There will be fireworks. I'd also target Pirates hitters versus Michael Lorenzen in PNC Park. Obviously, Lorenzen's ERA at 6.92 is inflated because of Coors, but I still don't trust him outside of it. I'd also target Brewers hitters versus Matt Waldron in American Family Field. He's a knuckleballer, so you never really know what to expect, but a 7.71 ERA from Waldron suggests it's not going to be good. I'd also target Mariners hitters versus Tatsuya Imai in Daikin Park. The third time I've talked about him. I'm excited to see him return, but I'm not expecting it to be great. So with his 7.27 ERA through his first few starts and returning from the IL, the Mariners hitters could take advantage of that. And lastly, I target Cardinals and A's hitters in Sutter Health Park as Andre Payante square off against Jeffrey Springs. It's just one of the better hitters parks in baseball as the A's play in a minor league park in Sacramento. Now we can close things out with our relievers to watch. Rico Garcia has pitched on back-to-back days, but so has Anthony Nunez. So I'd expect one of Andrew Kittredge or Yanier Cano to get a save opportunity for the Orioles. Brian Baker has pitched on back-to-back days, so target Cole Sulser or get Garrett Clevenger for a save from the Rays. And lastly, Paul Sewald has not really pitched often on back-to-back days. The Diamondbacks have been hesitant to push him out there for back-to-back days, so maybe Juan Murillo vultures a save on Tuesday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler, where I do daily SP streamers and break down every single start via the Pitcher List stats player cards. Tune into YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast, and make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.